Indiana attorneys and legal professionals, are you ready to raise the bar on your legal news intel? Subscribe to The Indiana Lawyer, Indiana's undisputed legal news authority. Your subscription includes unlimited digital access, optional delivery of the award-winning newspaper, and discounted tickets to all of The Indiana Lawyer's events. Get started today at theindianalawyer.com/subscribe.
Welcome to the Indiana Lawyer Podcast. I'm your host, Maura Johnson, and today's episode is all about family, community, and a commitment to justice. I'm joined by Doug Church and Julia Church Kozicki, a father-daughter duo who serve as partners at Church Church Hittle Antrim Attorneys at Law. The full-service firm was established in 1880 in Noblesville and has since grown to include offices across central Indiana, as well as in Fort Wayne and Crown Point. The church has joined me to talk about the rich history of the firm, their roots in the Noblesville area, and why their community is so important to them as attorneys. And of course, we talk about what it's like to work so closely with family, and Julia gives us a little insight onto her time on Jeopardy. But before we get into the conversation, let's hear from our sponsor, Taft.
Taft, today's modern law firm. At Taft, we cultivate a highly respectful, transparent workplace that fosters creativity, teamwork, inclusion, and diversity. We couple our culture with a client-first approach, rewarding lawyers who understand their clients' goals and work to deliver success. Taft, the modern law firm. To learn more, visit taftlaw.com.
Doug and Julia, thank you so much for joining me.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
So just to start out, I think the foundation of your firm is really interesting. Can you just start by explaining the firm's rich history?
I'll give it a try, and I'll try not to take more than 25 minutes. The founding member of the firm was a Quaker gentleman who, at the time of the beginning of this story, was living in Bethlehem, now known as Carmel, Indiana. And he decided that he wanted to become a lawyer. And at that time, because of how it worked, most lawyers read law. They didn't go to law school. They read law. And that meant they usually partnered up with a lawyer and sat in that office and read Blackstone commentaries and whatever statutes were around, whatever cases they could find. And they watched what the lawyer did. And at some point, when they felt they'd had enough experience, they would go to the circuit court and get sworn in and become a constitutional lawyer. So Joseph A. Roberts did that. And in 1880, he got on his horse, because in 1880, that's how you moved around. And he rode from Bethlehem to the county seat of Hamilton County, Noblesville, to the newly erected courthouse, and got sworn in and began his practice of law. And old Joe had two sons, Roger and Justin, and Roger read law and became a constitutional lawyer. And his brother Justin actually went to the University of Michigan Law School. And just before he graduated, he heard that the Indiana Supreme Court was considering the adoption of a rule that would require you to take a bar exam to become a lawyer. Well, before he graduated from law school, he raced back to Noblesville, went to the circuit court, and got sworn in as a constitutional lawyer so he wouldn't have to take a bar exam. So that was the second generation of Robertses. And then in 1953, my uncle, Manson Church, who had been in World War II, got out with the GI Bill, went to Butler and then to IE McKinney Law School, joined the practice. And after he joined the practice, then a third generation of Robertses joined the practice, Justin's son, Joe. Interesting sidelight. Joe went to IU Bloomington Law School. And when he graduated, there was a rule that said if you're going into the military within 6 months, you don't have to take the bar exam.
Oh,
and
wow.
he went into the military. So none of three generations of Robertses ever took a bar exam.
Wow.
But he joined the practice, and then time went on, and I came along, and others, but that's pretty much how the firm got founded. It was pretty much from the very beginning a Noblesville, Hamilton County practice. a general practice. The Robertses specialized in probate and real estate practice. Manson brought along the school practice. Others brought along a litigation practice. And of course, today we have a very different base of operations, although we are still considering Noblesville our headquarters. Did that give you enough of an answer?
Absolutely. Yes, it did. I'm just interested. You have considered a full service firm. Can you kind of tell me exactly, I guess, what practice areas you guys provide? What do you individually work in? Can you just explain that a little bit?
Sure. Really over the last probably 15 years, maybe 20 years, we have started to, like many law firms, we have started to really focus our practice areas. And the additional lawyers who joined the practice over that period of time have been oriented toward a particular area of practice. The school law practice is still a very large portion of what we do. We represent school corporations all over Indiana. We represent colleges and universities in Indiana and across the country. Yeah. That practice is really a very big practice at this point, and I suspect there are altogether maybe 15 to 20 of our lawyers who spend a good portion of their time involved in the education practice. We have a strong business practice. We have clients who have national interests, so we chase around the country involved in construction projects and whatever. We have a strong litigation and appellate practice. Yesterday, one of our attorneys was lead appellee lawyer in an oral argument before the Indiana Court of Appeals at the Notre Dame Law School, as a matter of fact, defending a verdict that was obtained. And there are others, Julia.
So thinking back to, we represent the whole family through their life cycle. So we do family law, we do estate law, personal injury, criminal law. We have attorneys who assist our clients in all phases of things that they need in their life. So bread and butter as well as institutional type clients.
Absolutely. So talk to me about your own legal careers. What kind of the path that you guys took, and then how you ended up being at the same firm as family?
Sure. You start.
Okay. When I joined the practice, I had a particular orientation toward litigation, and an awful lot of what I did in the early phases of my career was litigation. And that was initially because Judge Shields required all of the new young lawyers to become part of her pauper attorney group. I got to do a little criminal practice. I also did civil litigation. And back in the day, as they say, we had the change of venue rule. So we had a lot of cases that came out of Marion County and surrounding counties because we had really good judges here and because we had a calendar that could move cases along. So I had a chance to serve as local counsel and participate in a lot of cases, a lot of jury trials that I would never have had an opportunity to do otherwise. My uncle had started representing some developers in Carmel, and he invited me to join him one evening to go to a Board of Zoning Appeals meeting in Carmel. What I didn't know was that he was tired of going to evening meetings and he was getting ready to pass the mantle. So for a long time, I spent a lot of evenings before Board of Zoning Appeals and plan commissions and city and town councils. And in large part, that led me to what I call my second shift career. I served as town attorney for the town of Fishers for 35 years. I served as city attorney in Noblesville for 8 years during the administration of Mary Sue Rowland, and continued to represent clients before other boards of zoning appeals, planning commissions, city and town council. So my practice really encompassed pretty much litigation and municipal practice. Mm-hmm. And then Julie came along.
Right. And so Doug was here from law school on, and I took a slightly different path. When I graduated from law school, I had a clerkship with Honorable Alan Sharp, who was then Chief Judge of the Northern District of Indiana. And although he told me it would be 2 years only, I ended up spending 8 years clerking for the Northern District. And during that time, I had children. And so I was looking for something slightly slower and had the opportunity to go in-house as general counsel for Sigma Kappa sorority, which is my sorority, at their national headquarters in Indianapolis, and spent 20 years there working part-time while I was also raising children, which was a wonderful opportunity. But now that I have adults and not children, it seemed like a great time to have a conversation at Church Church Hittle Antrim. I also served 3 terms on the Noblesville School Board, and so had spent a lot of time working with the CCHA school practice group. So they were looking for someone, and I was looking for a change of pace. And so here I am. I joked for a long time I was a legacy at this firm, but I'm actually a partner at the firm.
I love it. That's so awesome. So what is it like working with family? I feel like we think of family business as, oh, a small business, but this is a law firm. What is that like?
Julie and I have a unique quirk. Well, maybe it's not so unique, but it is a quirk. We can read each other's minds.
Some days.
Love
And
that.
it's a kind of astonishing that one or the other of us will come up to the other and say, da 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 da. And it's, yes, that's exactly what I was concerned. You just answered the question I was about to ask you. So it's great. And knowing, of course, I'm not at all biased, but Julie is one of the smartest people I've ever known in my life. She is Jeopardy champions.
And I will be asking about that.
Yeah, that is true, but she is the fountain of all knowledge. And so it's great to have somebody that I can call upon. She's the smart one. I'm just the old experienced.
I am blessed on a daily basis that when I am going, okay, this is a new thing I've not thought about in my prior career. And I walk down the hall and say, Dad. And it is always great to know that, and there are lots of attorneys in this firm. Don't get me wrong. Lots of folks are ready to be helpful. But part of the great culture at CCHA is that Doug has been available to create that willingness to respond and assist, and doors are open. And so it's great to see him on a daily when I wouldn't necessarily otherwise, but also get to tap into his great mind. So mutual admiration society for sure.
Do you ever have to say, it's family time, let's not talk about work? What is that balance like?
Yeah, well, I don't know that we make a distinction. We talk about whatever we need to talk about. That may be family, or it may be work, or it may be some community activity that we're involved in. But whatever is top of mind, we talk about it.
That's right. We used to have a rule at the dinner table, though. The spouses did not appreciate all of the legal discussions. So we did put a kibosh occasionally.
Yeah. Maybe not at the Christmas dinner. Let's keep it something else.
Sunday lunch, yeah,
absolutely.
We got limit.
Yeah. So something that I loved reading about the firm is how invested in the communities that you serve. So I was reading about your work with Cotter Prairie and the Nickel Plate Trail in Noblesville. Can you kind of tell me about just the firm's heart for your community and where it's taken you, what kind of projects you've been able to do?
Well, I think we enjoyed the fact that historically there has been a culture in our firm dating back to Joseph A. Roberts, where you recognize that this practicing law as a profession is a privilege, not a right. You have a service obligation. When you raise your right hand and take the oath to be sworn in as an attorney, you say a lot of things that many lawyers forget about, that include your obligations to the community that supports you. And so we have that as a strong part of the culture of the firm, to give back by participating. And that means a lot of different things. We like for people to do things that they like to do. So there's no set course. If you like, as Julie's gotten involved with the Lions Club, we're all supportive of the Lions Club, or people who've been involved with their particular interest, and we try to support that, whatever it is. We say our money follows our people. Mm-hmm. And that's true both of staff as well as the attorneys in the firm. And so on our website, if you want to find out how many charities and not-for-profits and philanthropic organizations we support, it's a pretty long list. And it's always kind of astonishing to me to see just how much time and money and talent are contributed by the lawyers in our firm and staff in our firm in support of those organizations. And it's honestly a matter of trying to do the right thing, not because there's a connection from a practice standpoint necessarily, although obviously that doesn't hurt to get to know people in a variety of ways, but it's part of how you have a full life.
And it's been important for each lawyer to find the things that are important to them. So whether it is supporting Conner Prairie, which has been a huge part of our community for years, and several of us have served on their board, or Dad has been active in master swimming, and so saving the pool in Noblesville, ongoing works with that, or saving the railway, which has now become a fabulous trail. We invest in the areas that are important to us, and then we also bring our skills so we can support those organizations and help them move forward.
Yeah. Is there a particular project or heart project that you guys have done that when you think about the work that you've done in the community, that's kind of like a highlight for you?
Oh, gosh. My top 10 hit list, I won't name all 10 of them. There are a couple of things that I'm particularly happy I was able to be an influence in one way or another. Julie mentioned the Nickel Plate Trail. Norfolk Southern was getting ready to abandon their rail line between Indianapolis and Tipton, 36 miles. And Noblesville had experienced the abandonment of a railroad once before, where the railroad, the New York Central, just literally walked away, left tracks in the ground, left a lot of mess. So to make a long story short, we negotiated a deal with Norfolk and Southern that we could buy the line for $1 million. I was town attorney in Fishers at the time and city attorney in Noblesville, and I convinced the counselors that each city should contribute $100,000. And then we applied for an ICE-T grant. That's a federal grant for intermodal transportation enhancement, and got $800,000. So we had our $1 million, and we bought the line. And our objective was to preserve that line without necessarily knowing what its ultimate purpose would be, but knowing that it was a valuable asset for whatever ultimate reason it might be used. After we got the title, we sold a non-exclusive easement to a fiber optic cable company for $400,000 and to run the length of the line. And that $400,000, $100,000 each went back to Noblesville and Fishers to pay them back. $200,000 went in the bank to support the activities of the multi-jurisdictional port authority, which was created to operate it. And today we have a fine nickel plate trail. Yeah. We have an excursion train running out of Forest Park. I'd say the one other thing just to touch on, representing Fishers in the 1980s and 90s was a challenge, to say the least. Fishers, when I started as town attorney, was 2,500 people. It started doubling its population about every other year. And as you may or may not know, in Indiana, we assess property, then we tax it, but we don't collect the tax until the next year. So if you get a building permit or an occupancy permit for a new house the day after the assessment date, you may not pay your first nickel on property taxes for as much as 25 to 26 months. And in the meantime, you're looking for fire and police protection. You want roads to drive on. You want schools to attend. And so we were trying to figure out what could we do to fill that gap. And I had read about a thing called an impact fee. And the Supreme Court of the United States had basically said in a Florida case that the impact fee, if you tailored it properly, was legal, constitutional. So I drafted an ordinance in Fishers, and we began collecting impact fees. Ultimately, Noblesville, Westville, Carmel adopted impact fee ordinances, as well as several other communities around the state. And it filled that gap in a rapidly growing community, effectively made impact fees legal. And the result of that has been the collection of literally hundreds of millions of dollars to support road and street improvements and parks and sewage treatment plants, et cetera, in the communities that have adopted that ordinance.
Is there any heart project, Julia, for you that you are really grateful to have been a part of?
Although it predates my time at CCHA, serving on the Noblesville School Board was an incredible project. It kind of led me here, and I think it stems from both the firm and our family sense of service. But knowing that we were able to construct buildings and make renovations and put practices in place after our shooting to protect students and provide for mental health, that was a huge opportunity, and I'm grateful I had the opportunity to serve on the board at that time to support our kids.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that you guys touched on things that you've done that makes this a statewide effort or impact, I apologize. And Doug, of course, we talked a few months ago about the Indiana Courthouse project and the art project and just how instrumental you were in that. And I loved that story just because it was so cool to explore different artists from the state and celebrating the architecture of Indiana. But specifically, I just want to know what motivates you not only to just be involved in these community projects, but also these statewide efforts that create such a lasting impact on Hoosiers?
Beats me.
We are eighth generation Hoosiers.
Yeah.
So
I'm not entirely sure how to answer that question. I think if you show up at various places and you have the opportunity to provide some leadership, things happen.
Yeah.
I started going to state bar meetings a long time ago and was fortunate enough to serve as president of the state bar and was looking for ideas and projects to promote during my term as president. And this was one of them, the Courthouse Art Project. By the way, I got a call from the Chief Justice who told me that during her State of the Judiciary presentation to the General Assembly, she intends to show the slides of the courthouse art and to talk about the project. So that's going to be a fun thing. And now we're working on a coffee table book.
Oh, I love that. Well, I will be following up with you on that because that is interesting to me. I love it. So I was reading a story by a local Noblesville nonprofit, and it has you quoted saying that, quote, being a good lawyer means being a good neighbor. And I'm just curious about why you say that, why you believe that, and how do you carry that belief into your practice in law?
Now, it's part of the broader statement of our culture. Clients come first. And trying to find a way to get the best result for a client in the most efficient way so that we're not wasting their money, but we're meeting their objectives, attaining the goals they've set. And part of that broadened thought is recognizing our clients are our neighbors. In many cases, they are really our neighbors. They live down the street and around the corner. Or they live in Hamilton County, and that's a neighbor no matter what. Or they live in Lake County or Allen County or Boone County. Where we have offices. That's pretty much how we think about it. How would you treat your neighbor? And a little bit of that golden rule thought is involved with that. So we want to have that kind of a relationship where people know that we care about them as people more than just another client that you give a number to and set up a billing system for.
Indianapolis region has such a robust legal community, and there's constant things to evolve with. I talk a lot about AI in my work, and I'm just curious, how do you guys balance both the need to innovate and maintain a presence in the legal community while also just staying true to the roots that you have in being invested in the communities that you serve?
Well, Julie will have her thought as somebody who's kind of newer to this organization than I am, and I'm happy for her to contribute her thoughts. I think to a great extent it comes natural after a while. If you offer people the thought that this is what you do to earn a living, it's a profession, therefore it has certain aspects that go beyond just a job, but we also want you to have a full life. That means having time for your family and your friends and to be involved in organizations that you care about, to take care of yourself physically, to be fit mentally as well as physically. And we emphasize those things. We don't expect people to come to the office before 8 or 8:30. We don't expect them to stay after 5 or 5:30. And that's a very different culture from a lot of law firms because we recognize they need to have time to do those things that are part of their broader life. So that's how we approach it. Staying on top of technology. I don't know why. I've always had an interest. I got a System 5 Wang. You would have no idea what that is. That was a standalone word processor. That was after I got an IBM something or other that worked off a mag card. So we've always tried to stay abreast of the technology, whatever's going on, and to stay ahead of it to the extent we can. And I think we've done a pretty good job of that. Hard to know what's coming next because it comes at you like water out of a fire hose.
We're always thinking about that's part of our obligation is to stay abreast of all of the changes, both within case law and within statute and really within technology. If you're not paying attention, then you're not advising your clients well. So we are thoughtful about that and how we maintain that. And as part of our culture, it is self-care as much as client care that we understand what's going on and all of the things that we do.
In a few words, what it means for you to be able to represent your community as legal professionals specifically and get to provide that kind of service to your neighbors, like you said.
Yeah, when I first moved to Noblesville, I got invited to join the chamber board. They didn't know me. They had no idea what kind of skills or leadership abilities I might have, but because I was a lawyer, that continues to a large extent to be true. Organizations want to have lawyers on their boards or participating in some fashion because that's just simply a good thing to have. From our standpoint, I think we've always recognized that part of that professional obligation of the community is to be prepared not only to give back, but to participate in whatever way you can be useful and helpful. And so that's just part of the culture.
I think we always have things we can contribute because we have those special skills. And, those to whom much is given, much is expected. So that's certainly part of our family culture as well as this firm culture. We're capable and we have interest in places where we can contribute. And so we can and should.
And I said I would come back to this, but Julie, I have to ask about your Jeopardy experience. Can
Sure.
you tell me about how did you get to this? Did you use any lawyer skills in that? What did that look like?
I don't know about lawyer skills. I was on Brain Game in high school. And so I was interested in trivia all along. I applied a couple times, and the second time I applied, 2011, I got the call. 3 weeks after I got the call, I was in Culver City filming, and then it aired. That was in October of 2011. It aired in December of 2011, and the money comes 3 months after that. So, there's no real. I think it has a lot to do with the great thing about being an attorney is you learn so many things about so many things. You develop a broad sense of knowledge. And so I remember specifically, I ran the table in a category of HUD secretaries. Now, who in the world would know or memorize housing and urban development secretaries? I did not. However, because I have a broad range of knowledge, they were somewhere tucked in my brain. So,
I love it.
That was an incredible opportunity. I got to play on with Alex Trebek and came home with $30,000 sooner or later.
Wow.
So it was not a bad day at the office.
No, not at all. I love it. Anything else I didn't ask that you guys wanted to include?
We appreciate the Indiana Lawyer. In an era when the journalism is under attack, it seems like on all corners at all times. What you do in bringing news about the legal community is really important. And I mean that sincerely. It is important for us to be able to know what's going on, and you are the source. So thank you for what you do, and we appreciate the opportunity to participate in this podcast. If nobody listens to it but us.
Well, thank you for joining me and for reading and supporting. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Maura.
Thank you for listening to the Indiana Lawyer Podcast. For more information on legal stories around the state, you can head on over to our website at theindianalawyer.com. There, you can subscribe to our newsletters, check out more podcast episodes, and listen to podcasts from across the IBJ Media Network. You can also find us on social media, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn.
Off the Record with Indiana's 250 most influential business and community leaders is a podcast that peels back the curtain on Indiana's most respected leaders, one episode at a time. Go beyond the headlines and hear the stories of grit and innovation that shape these leaders. Do you want to know who's driving our state forward? This is a must listen. Subscribe and listen wherever you get your podcasts or at ibjpodcast.com.
The IBJ Media Podcast Network is the soundtrack of a growing state. Indiana is on the move, and you can hear it happening on the IBJ Media Podcast Network. We bring you the voices at the center of our economy, our courts, our companies, and our communities. Subscribe now and be part of the conversation that's building Indiana's future. Find all of our shows by searching IBJ Media in your podcast app or visit ibjpodcasts.com.